The War of the Pyrenees, also known as War of Roussillon or War of the Convention, was the Pyrenean front of the First Coalition's war against the First French Republic. It pitted revolutionary France against the kingdoms of Spain and Portugal from March 1793 to July 1795 during the French Revolutionary Wars. The war was fought in the Eastern Pyrenees, the Western Pyrenees, at the French port of Toulon, and at sea. In 1793, a Spanish army invaded Roussillon in the Eastern Pyrenees and maintained itself on French soil through April 1794. The French army drove the Spanish back into Catalonia and inflicted a serious defeat on it in November 1794. After February 1795, the war in the Eastern Pyrenees became a stalemate. In the Western Pyrenees, the French began to win in 1794. By 1795, the French army controlled a portion of northeast Spain. The war was brutal in at least two ways. First, the Committee of Public Safety decreed that all French royalist prisoners be executed. Second, French generals who lost battles or otherwise displeased the all-powerful representatives on mission were sent to prison of the guillotine with alarming frequency. Army of the Eastern Pyrenees commanders and generals were especially unlucky in this regard. War. Outbreak. On the 21st of January 1793, the National Convention of France executed King Louis XVI of France by guillotine, enraging the other monarchs of Europe. France was already at war with Habsburg Austria, the Kingdom of Prussia, and the Kingdom of Sardinia-Piedmont. After winning the Battle of Jemappes, the French army occupied the Austrian Netherlands. Emboldened, the government decreed annexation of the territory, provoking a diplomatic break with Great Britain. On the 1st of February, France declared war on Britain and the Dutch Republic. On the 7th of March, France declared war on her ancient ally Spain. Toulon. Spanish forces took part in the siege of Toulon, which lasted from the 18th of September to the 18th of December 1793. The French were led by Dugommier while the Anglo-Spanish defenders were commanded by Admirals Juan de Langara, Federico Gravina, Samuel Hood, and General Charles O'Hara. The Allies abandoned the port after a young officer of artillery, Napoleon Bonaparte, took the fleet's anchorage under cannon fire. The French Navy lost 14 ships of the line burned and 15 more captured. French casualties numbered 2,000 while Allied losses were twice as great. Afterward, the victors massacred up to 2,000 French royalists taken as prisoners. Naval Action. The action of the 14th of February 1795 in the Gulf of Roses was a defeat for the French Navy. Eastern Pyrenees. At the outbreak of war, King Charles IV of Spain appointed Captain General Antonio Ricardos to command the Army of Catalonia in the Eastern Pyrenees. Ricardos invaded the Cerdagne and captured Saint-Laurent-de-Cerdans on the 17th of April 1793. 3 days later, he routed a French force at Céret on the Tech River. In despair, the elderly French commander in charge of Roussillon, Mathieu Henry Marchand de la Fouillerie, committed suicide. On the 30th of April, the French government split the Army of the Pyrenees into the Army of the Eastern Pyrenees and the Army of the Western Pyrenees. In the Battle of Mars-Deu on the 19th of May 1793, Ricardos defeated Louis Charles de Flers. This allowed the Spanish to invest the Fort de Bellegarde on the 23rd of May. The siege of Bellegarde ended when the French garrison surrendered on the 24th of June. In the Battle of Perpignan on the 17th of July, de Flers turned back the Spanish, though French losses were heavier. On the 28th of August, Luc Simeon Auguste de Gobet defeated a Spanish force under Manuel La Peña at Puigcerdo in the Cerdagne. In September, Ricardos sent 2 divisions under Geronimo Duró own Moctezuma, Marquis de las Amarillas and Juan de Curtin to cut off the fortress of Perpignan. But Eustache Charles d'Aoust rallied the French to win the Battle of Paris-d'Orthez on the 17th of September. This represented the farthest Spanish advance in Roussillon. 5 days later Ricardos defeated Dagobert at the Battle of Truillas before falling back to the Tech Valley. Ricardos repulsed d'Aoust at La Boule on the 3rd of October. The Battle of the Tech on 13 to 15 October saw the Spanish repel the assaults of Luis Marie Taro, a 5,000-man Portuguese division led by John Forbes joined Ricardos in time to defeat d'Aoust at the Battle of Ville-Longue-dels-Monts on the 7th of December. In the Battle of Callao, Gregorio Garcia de la Cuesta captured the ports of Callao and Port Vendas from the French on the 20th of December. Ricardos died on the 13th of March 1794, and Spanish success died with him. Captain General Alejandro O'Reilly died 10 days after the man he was to succeed, and Luis Fermin de Carvajal, Conde de la Union, was appointed to command the Army of Catalonia instead. The Army of the Eastern Pyrenees also had a new commander in Jacques-François Dagommier. At the Battle of Boulou from the 29th of April to the 1st of May, Dagommier drove de la Union's army south of the border, forcing the Spanish to abandon all their artillery and trains. Callao fell to the French in late May, and Eugenio Navarro's 7,000-man Spanish garrison became prisoners. The French royalist defenders fled in fishing boats before the surrender to avoid execution. Dagommier imposed a blockade on Bellegarde starting on the 5th of May. The inconclusive Battle of La Junquera was fought on the 7th of June. In the Battle of San Lorenzo de la Muga on the 13th of August, Pierre Augereau repulsed a Spanish attempt to relieve Bellegarde. The fortress fell on the 17th of September after the Spanish garrison was starved out. From 17 to the 20th of November, the climactic Battle of the Black Mountains saw both Dagommier and de la Union killed in action. Dominique Catherine de Perignon took command of the French and led them to victory. Figueras and its Saint-Ferran fortress quickly fell to the French with 9,000 prisoners. Pierre-François Sauret successfully concluded the Siege of Roses on the 4th of February 1795. Perignon was replaced in army command by Barthélemy Louis Joseph Scherer. On the 14th of June 1795, Scherer was defeated near the river Fluvia by José de Arauxa y de las Casas at the Battle of Bascara. After peace was signed, but before word reached the fighting front, Cuesta recaptured Puigcerdo and Belva from the French on 26 and the 27th of July. Western Pyrenees. A number of minor clashes occurred in 1793, including actions fought by Bon-Adrien Ginot de Moncy's 5th Light Demi Brigade at Château-Pignon on the 6th of June, Oldeudes in June, and Saint-Jean-de-Luz on the 23rd of July. On the 5th of February 1794, in the Battle of Sans-Culottes Camp, the French successfully defended a fortified hilltop position near Hendaye against 13,000 Spanish infantry and 700 cavalry and artillery led by José Arauxa y de las Casas. Spanish casualties numbered 335 while French losses were 235. On the 3rd of June, a 2,300-man French brigade commanded by La Victoire stormed the Catafuerte position at Ispegui past 13.5 airline km west of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. The 1,000 defenders, including a battalion of the Spanish Zamora Infantry Regiment, 3 companies of the Oldeudes Rifles, and the French Émigré Legion Royal Battalion, lost 94 killed and wounded, plus 307 captured. The losses of the French brigade, part of Moco's division, were described as light. The same day, Jacques Lefranç's 2,000 French Republican troops seized the Izpegui Ridge. On the 3rd of March 1794, the bordering villages of Sara, Idzasu, Ascagne, and another 9 Basque villages were declared ignoble by the Republican authorities after 74 young residents, instead of watching the border for the French army, fled south to the Spanish Basque region. All the village inhabitants were held accountable for the flight, and draconian measures were imposed on them. All inhabitants of the villages aged 3 to 88 were crammed in carts like criminals, and carried off to the lands of Gascony. Men and women were segregated, and the valuable possessions seized or burned. The victims of the massive deportation may amount to several thousands, and in 5 months some 1,600 had died, 600 from Sara. In a few years' time, many survivors managed to come back home. On the 23rd of June, Captain General Don Ventura Caro with 8,000 infantry and 500 cavalry and artillery tried unsuccessfully to oust a French force from a fortified position atop Mont Calvaire. The Spanish suffered 500 killed and wounded, plus 34 captured. The French admitted 30 killed and 200 wounded. On the 10th of July, Antoine Digonet with a brigade of 4,000 troops overwhelmed the Zamora infantry and the Legin Royal defending Mount Argensu. The height is located at 43.05639 degrees north, 1.49444 degrees west, 43.05639 minus 1.49444, 10 kilometers south of Elizondo. Spanish losses numbered 314, including French Royalist commander Marquis de Saint-Simon badly wounded. On this occasion, the French Republicans executed 49 French Royalist prisoners. On the 23rd of July, the Army of the Western Pyrenees attacked Spanish fortified positions with the divisions of Monsieur Henri-François Delaborde and Jean-Henri Guy-Nicolas de Fregeville. Though Jacques Léonard Muller commanded the army at the time, Moncey exercised tactical control of operations during the Battle of the Bastogne Valley. In the fighting near Elizondo and Onastebie, Moncey overran the Spanish defenses. The French then followed the Bidasoa River northward in late July to seize the heights of San Marcial and the town of Hondarribia near the coast. In the latter operation, Moncey captured Don Vicente de los Reyes, 2,000 Spanish soldiers, and 300 cannon on the 1st of August. Moncey followed this exploit by capturing San Sebastian without resistance on the 3rd of August, with an additional 1,700 Spanish soldiers and 90 cannon falling into French hands. Soon after, the French also captured the town of Tolosa. Moncey was soon promoted to army commander. On the 14th of August 1794, the General Assembly of Guipuzcoa reunited in the coastal town of Guetaria with the support of the San Sebastian bourgeoisie, followed by tense negotiations with senior officials of the French army. Besides embracing the French revolutionary ideas, the council made a formal petition: detachment from the Kingdom of Spain, respect for the region-specific laws, allegiance of Guipuzcoa to France, free Catholic practice, and a set of rules for the management of war-related circumstances. However, with negotiations leading to the Peace of Basel being in place, the representatives of the National Convention in the French army, Jacques Pinette and Jean-Baptiste Cavaignac, refused to accept the demands, and the Guipuzcoan representatives representatives were imprisoned or exiled. Given the circumstances, another assembly was held in Mondragon on the 13th of September, where the attending regional representatives decided this time to support Ferdinand VII, and mustered an autonomous provincial militia against the French army. However, soon on, in an unspecified date, the more diplomatic Moncey restored the governing institutions of Guipuzcoa. The news of the declaration issued in Guetaria by the Guipuzcoan representatives spread like fire to Madrid and sparked outrage in Spanish ruling circles and press, who lashed out at the Basque province and its inhabitants. Not only that, after the imprisonment in Bayonne, the Guipuzcoan representatives were persecuted by Spanish authorities and tried on high treason charges and unpatriotic behavior. From 15 to the 17th of October, Moncey launched a broad front offensive from the Bastogne Valley and the Roncesvalles Pass to the south in the direction of Pamplona. The Battle of Orbait-Zetas, or clashes at Mesquirits, Orbait-Zeta, Lecumberri, and Villanueva. The 46,000-man French army drove back 13,000 Spanish troops under the command of Pedro Tellez Giron, 9th Duke of Osuna, with 4,000 casualties and the loss of 50 cannon. French losses are unknown. The arms foundries at Orbait-Zeta and Ugy, as well as the Spanish Navy's Mastor at Arati, fell to the French. However, the onset of winter weather and the outbreak of disease caused operations to be suspended for the year. A final clash occurred at Begara on the 7th of November when the French inflicted losses of 150 killed, plus 200 men and 1 cannon captured on a 4,000-man division led by Gaetano Pignatelli, 3rd Marquess of Ruby. The town was sacked, but a detachment of the territorial militia led by Gabriel Mendizabal, who was to be promoted to general during the Peninsular War, managed to recapture it. During the winter, Moncey reorganized his army, which had lost 3,000 men to disease. He finally secured a siege train and, in June 1795, 12,000 reinforcements arrived from the Army of the West. Moncey's offensive began on the 28th of June and it soon drove back Crespar's Spanish forces. Vitoria fell to the French on the 17th of July and Bilbao 2 days later. When news of the Peace of Basel arrived in early August, Moncey had crossed the Ebro and was preparing to invest Pamplona. Conclusion: the Peace of Basel ended the War of the Pyrenees on the 22nd of July 1795, with Moncey close on the gates of Pamplona, with the Basques fearing an abolition of the self-government, and the Spanish Prime Minister Manuel Godoy panicking at the prospect of the still autonomous Basque region switching allegiances to France and detaching from Spain. Ultimately, Spain gave up on the eastern two-thirds of the Hispaniola in exchange for keeping Guipuzcoa. Additionally, at the behest of Moncey in the Committee of Public Safety, an annex was added to the treaty by which the Spanish Basques, and specifically the Guipuzcoans who had shown sympathies for the French, were given guarantees of receiving no reprisals from Spanish authorities. Prime Minister Manuel Godoy, and so was agreed. Notwithstanding this provision, at least the city council of San Sebastian was arrested and put to a court-martial trial in Pamplona held as of February 1796. An alliance convention between France and Spain was signed at the Second Treaty of San Ildefonso on the 19th of August 1796. All in all, it was a victory for the French Republic. Portugal remained in combat, however, as peace was not concluded with the Portuguese.